So we looked at what are some complex issues that the hiring team deals with, and the kind of ways that perhaps the hiring analytics team can support them. So let's look at some more concrete areas where the analytics team can really make an impact. Let's look at, for example, the pipeline, the basic process workflow that defines how a candidate moves from the sourcing to the time when they get onboarded within the company. As with any pipeline, you will realize that once you look at data, you will have certain areas that are working at full efficiency, while there are certain areas perhaps that are waiting on candidates to move to them. So, for example, let's say we have a simple process where we go to a campus and we identify 100 people who we feel meet our skill set requirement. Our first stage in the hiring process might be that we want them to take a certain test, which is, maybe a multiple choice quiz on pen and paper. What you will realize is that actually to administer this test is not a big challenge. The campus will usually support you in this, and it might take you, an hour, 2 hours, or maybe 3 hours to administer the test. But what you've done now is that you've collected 100 answer sheets, which are, pen and paper, and now you have to evaluate each one of these. While you've already got your panel of interviewers waiting for the shortlisted group of candidates to reach them, here you've created a bottleneck. And it is these kinds of data points that an analytics team should be able to pull together and identify that, hey, I need to look into this step of the pipeline and maybe optimize something over here in order to make sure that there is a steady flow of candidates from the beginning all the way till the end. And there are no surprises, or there are no uncomfortable waiting times for anybody within this pipeline. Which brings us to this really important point that while we speak of these resources as candidates and we think of them as groups, actually they are human beings, and they are individuals who have thoughts, they have feelings, and they have reactions. Believe me, it is no fun for anybody to sit in a room with 100 other people and be thought of as just a name on a paper or a score on an answer sheet. It is these initial reactions to your process that will define the way a person feels about entering your organization. It will also, play a role in the kind of salary negotiations they will do with you. It will also play a role in how they feel when they actually join your organization and how long they stay with you. And not just that. Let's say you, really loved a candidate, but for, some reason they have a better offer from a competitor. Sometimes just creating a really pleasant candidate experience during the hiring process can skew the candidate and bias them into picking your company over a competitor, or vice versa. So collecting data points of perhaps candidate surveys, or taking feedback from candidates who are leaving you at every stage of the pipeline can really help you understand how they feel about your current process and how you can improve this candidate experience. This survey and this feedback does not need to be restricted to just the hiring pipeline. In fact, I would say that this is something which should carry forward during the employee's life cycle. This is something we will discuss actually in greater detail later. But it is really, really important that you start off a relationship on a good note, and hiring is really the first point of contact that a person has with your organization. So this is a really critical area. Now, another, of course, area is, which we've touched upon a little bit before, is setting up the right selection workflow. Is it really important for each of these people to take a pen and paper test? If we've identified this as a bottleneck, do I need to, what can I do to improve this and remove this bottleneck? Maybe I can run this assessment digitally so that, there is no need for somebody to manually evaluate each answer sheet. Perhaps you might realize that there is a step in your selection workflow which is really not acting as a filter at all. Perhaps everybody who goes through this test is getting passing scores. And therefore, the test is actually not playing any role at all in shortlisting your candidates. So setting up the right selection workflow also means looking at this filter and seeing how each step is narrowing your selected candidates in order to make sure that when they finally reach the end, the decision making is really, really focused for you. And these kind of analytics, which are at the assessment side, at the testing side, are usually score driven. And usually you will find that it's very, very easy for you to support deep analytics in this area because there is so much data that you can collect very, very quickly. And, feed this to your analytics team, and they might be able to give you extremely useful insights. They might be able to tell you, hey, for this test, every single time you go to this college, you end up getting a higher average of responses from candidates versus this other college. And now you know that perhaps I should just first go here and see if I can find better candidates. And maybe this needs to be a second option for me, this other college. So it is these kind of insights that the analytics team can provide to you. And then, again, as we were discussing before, putting all of these data points together of the hard skills, the cultural alignment, maybe some kind of psychometric tests you run, maybe some kind of best fit tests you run, and the feedback that you receive from the people interacting with your shortlisted candidates, your interviewers, all together can help you make the right offer to the right candidate. When I say the right offer, not just in the selection of the candidate, but also in being able to pick the right number to give this candidate. What are my industry benchmarks for this skill set? Am I overpaying for a particular skill or am I underpaying? And there are dangers on both sides. When you're underpaying for a skill, you're facing this danger where this person will get a more attractive offer very soon from the market and they will leave you. Or if you're overpaying a candidate, you're essentially just leaving money on the table, and this is a direct hit to your margin. So being able to make this right offer to the right candidate is really, really important. You will be able to create these benchmarks basis not just your own data, but in fact, with the right kind of guidance and inputs, your hiring analytics team can also create these benchmarks based on geography, based on countries, based on the kind of educational qualifications a candidate has, and they will be able to feed this back to you and ideally be able to give you the right pay for the right set of skills. And overall, optimizing all of these things together will essentially lead to a much, much more efficient hiring team and overall be able to reduce your hiring cost.